Good morning, welcome to Morning Review on Thursday the 9th of February. So looking at the euro dollar first, and I'm now out of my swing short, although this morning's price, I say this morning, this morning's price action through the early Asian session, this extra kick down here does make it look like it could come back and test that pivot potentially. We'll see how we run through that. Now, the divergence on the 4-hourly switched me out. It's what gave me the entry in. It is the entry I've taken on the outside of it, so hence why I come out of the swing short in the end on the euro. So where we're sitting here now, looking at daily, the 4-hourly's daily is not giving me a great deal to run from, but looking through here. In terms of any potential upside, I need to just see a sort of a move back above that trend line, back into sort of a more positive trend. At the moment, as I say, it does look like it could slip right away down towards its S1, but we'll see how it sort of shapes up around about 8 o'clock this morning. Okay, pound. Let's have a quick look at the pound. Well, a bit more bullish there, and almost a bullish pivot swing. It tried to put in yesterday, although again through this Asian session we've seen a slow retracement here. A bit clearer maybe from the picture that we'll see here. Let me just pop the trend line on here. Really consolidated day yesterday, and maybe. I'll be looking somewhere between this range here, this wedge sort of pattern that's occurred there. Let's just kick that last one off from yesterday. That triggered late afternoon, that one, but later afternoon. Okay, so this is where we're sitting at the moment, around daily pivot there. Potential to push up, I think, is more what I'm really looking at for at the moment, with slightly higher lows. Well, certainly a higher low there, and potentially one here. Now, break of this trend line would really be the trigger point for me to be looking for that long side. But it's neutralish, and a lot of these markets I mentioned on the weekly update, we're on a bit of a knife edge at the moment, on a bit of an edge, and they could go either way. And you can see again, the dollar yen is a classic of this, is where we've got this consolidation over the last few days on the dailies, and not quite such volatility in it. And is it just sort of building up for another kick down we've seen before? So it's one thing I'm looking at. However, it's at the moment pushing up towards the R1. That would probably spoil things somewhat if it does get up there too early, but could push through. The ranges are pretty tight at the moment. It does at the moment look like it's going to push up in that direction. However, if we see the euro and the pound coming off, I'd be looking for the breaks. Really, I've put this trend line on, but I'm really looking at the 60-21s as there's the sort of the mark in the sand for looking for the being on the short side. At the moment, yes, it's putting high lows, high highs in this shorter time, intermediate time frame, and the R1 looks like a reasonable opportunity. Okay, Aussie dollar. Aussie dollars, well, given up some gains over the Asian period there so far, but again, it's still consolidating in a relatively tight range here, and it's really which way this, if anything, with the lower highs, lower lows, looks bearish to me, which is a bit sort of against what we're seeing elsewhere, but it's probably not a massive surprise in some respects with the Royal Bank, Reserve Bank of New Zealand. Suggesting that no interest rate increase is going to occur in the near term, so it's sort of that may have had a knock-on effect across in that region. So we're sitting there. We have got an untouched daily pivot above. It's a mess of MAs above us as well. So any sort of retracement here could well run into some resistance back into the weekly pivot, but there is the daily pivot above us. So maybe if there's sort of a signal at some point on the way. We could see a push towards that daily pivot and beyond. Again, I think it's really dependent on where we see the dollar, how the dollar going, and we'll see that probably clearer with the European currencies this morning. Canadian dollar, okay, pulled back some yesterday, and it's put this lovely bull flag sort of pattern in at the moment. It's whether or not this flag's going to roll over completely. It's put effectively a lower high in there as well. It's probably clearer to see. Yep, you see the lower highs coming through and lower lows running through on this intermediate time frame. It's, I mean, we just could drag this trend line a bit further along, and it's still the line in the sand between moving out of this sort of bearish trend back into a sort of a bullish move. But otherwise, if it starts kicking down the lows here, we could see a bit more a continuation to the downside, more solid continuation to the downside. Very tight at the moment, and I'd be very wary of any early breakouts of this sort of trend, and maybe needing to see it below its weekly R1 sort of area there to give a bit more confirmation of downside. Okay, that's pretty much it. Today, news-wise, there's not a significant amount out. At 9 o'clock, we've got the Australian Reserve Bank of Australian Governor Lowe speaking at 9 o'clock, so we may get a bit of Aussie price action there, and it's part of the way where it may be a bit consolidated on these markets. It may give us a bit more guidance. Aside of that, it's really quiet until later on this evening. We've got two speakers. We've got Evans and FOMC Evans, and then we've got Bank of England Carney speaking. So there's two speakers at 6 o'clock tonight, or 10 past 6 and 6:30. So quite a long time before that happens. 1:30, we've just got the usual weekly employment numbers, which don't really do too much these days. And that's pretty much it. So we're left there to the technicals and any other speakers that may want to throw the towel in the ring, comments or whatever else. Who knows? You may even get a nice Twitter from Trump to get some volatility. Let's see what happens. Have a great one. Bye for now.